Okay, picture this. We're in ancient India, in the bustling city of Nalanda. Two massive philosophical movements are in a full-on battle for the hearts and minds of the people. But listen, this isn't some friendly chat over tea. This is a high-stakes intellectual duel where the loser doesn't just lose an argument, they could lose everything. We're diving into an ancient showdown where the stakes could not have been higher.
And at the very core of this whole conflict is a question that's just as real today as it was 2,500 years ago. When you do something wrong, what's really more to blame? Is it the physical thing you did, or is it the thought, the intention that was behind it? I mean, really think about that. Can a single silent thought actually carry more weight, more power than a physical act?
All right, so let's set the stage. On one side, you've got Nigantha, the leader of the Jains, and on the other side, you have the Buddha. Now, these were both towering figures of their time, but they had this one fundamental disagreement about the very nature of action, of karma.
So here's the breakdown, the core of their disagreement. For Nataputta, the kaya danda, the physical act itself, that was the problem. The deed was everything, period. But the Buddha, he saw it completely differently. He argued that kamma, or mental action, was what really counted. For him, the intention, the thought driving the action, that was the whole ballgame.
Now, this disagreement wasn't just some abstract philosophical thing. Oh no, it was about to get very, very personal. And this is where our main character steps in, a wealthy, super respected householder named Upāli. He was a devout and, let's just say, an extremely confident follower of Nigantha. And when Upāli heard what the Buddha was teaching, he was just furious. He actually boasted to his master that he was going to go challenge the Buddha and shut him down. And get this, he used these wild analogies, saying he would drag the Buddha around in debate like a man dragging a long-fleeced sheep by its wool, or like a brewer shaking out a strainer. He was absolutely 100% sure he was going to win. But, not everyone was so convinced. Another disciple, a guy named Digatapasi, tried to warn his master. He said, "Look, this monk Gautama, he's like a magician. He has this captivating spell he uses to win over other people's followers." But Nataputta just brushed it off. He was certain his star student would never flip. In fact, he thought it was way more likely the Buddha would become his follower. So, Upāli heads off, just brimming with confidence, ready to completely dismantle the Buddha's entire argument. But the Buddha doesn't come at him with aggression. Instead, he uses this series of absolutely brilliant thought experiments designed to pick apart the very foundation of Upāli's entire belief system. The Buddha starts with a hypothetical. He says, imagine a Jain ascetic. He's incredibly sick, and his vows say he absolutely cannot drink cold water. He's dying of thirst. He craves it, but he never takes a single sip. He dies with his mind just totally fixed on that desire. So the Buddha asks Upāli, where does that guy get reborn? And boom, right there, that's the first crack in Upāli's armor. He has to admit that the ascetic is reborn with a group of gods called the mind-bound. Why? Precisely because his mind was attached to the water, even though his body never touched a drop. And that's the key. His answer puts the mind above the body, which completely goes against his own teacher's doctrine. The Buddha doesn't let up. He pushes further. He asks about another Jain ascetic, one who, just by walking, accidentally and totally unintentionally, steps on and kills tons of tiny insects. The Buddha asks, is that a great evil? And again, Upāli is totally backed into a corner by his own teacher's rules. He has to say that his teacher doesn't consider an unintentional act a big deal. It's only when the act is intentional, when there's cetanā, that it becomes a huge problem. And in saying that, he has, for a second time, admitted that the mind is more blameworthy than the body. Okay, now for the final and most powerful analogy. The Buddha asks, look at this great city of Nalanda. It's thriving, it's packed with people. Do you really think 50 men, even with swords raised, could destroy this entire city in just one moment? Upāli basically laughs this off. He's like, 50 men? Forget it. Not even 10 or 20 could do that. But then the Buddha poses another question. What if a single sage, someone who had completely mastered his mind and gained psychic powers, came to Nalanda? Could he destroy it with just one hateful thought? And Upāli has to say, yes, a sage like that could burn not just one city, but 50 cities to ash with a single act of the mind. It's just a brilliant illustration of the unbelievable power of the mind compared to the body. And with that, the debate
is over. The logic is just inescapable. The proud debater who came in so certain, ready to crush his opponent, has been completely and totally won over by sheer reason.
Upāli's conversion is absolute. He uses this beautiful string of metaphors. It's like you set upright what was knocked over or revealed what was hidden. He's saying the Buddha has made the truth crystal clear for him. And right then and there, he declares that he takes refuge in the Buddha and his teachings.
But here's what's truly amazing. The Buddha's response. He doesn't just jump for joy and welcome his new famous follower. He actually tells him to pump the brakes. Investigate this thoroughly, he says. It's a good idea for a well-known man like you to be absolutely sure. This lack of ego, this focus on clear-sighted thinking impresses Upāli even more. He realizes any other teacher would have been parading him through the streets, but the Buddha just wanted him to think for himself.
So Upāli heads home a completely changed man, but his story isn't finished. Now he has to face the music, and the news has to get back to his old master.
And the very first thing he does is give his gatekeeper a crystal clear order. From this day on, he says, my doors are closed to the followers of Nagantha Naraputta, but they are wide open for the Buddha and his disciples. It's a simple instruction, but it's a massive public declaration of where he now stands.
When Naraputta finally arrives to confront him, Upāli uses this incredible parable. He says the Jain doctrine is like a baby monkey. Sure, you can dye its fur a pretty color, but you can't scrub it clean or it'll fall apart. It's superficial. But the Buddha's teaching, he says, that's like fine cloth. You can dye it, you can beat it, you can scrub it. It's tough enough to handle the most intense logical scrutiny.
Well, as you can imagine, Naraputta is just livid. He cannot believe what he's hearing. He accuses Upāli of being a fool, of being tricked by that captivating spell he was warned about. But Upāli just calmly replies that if this is a spell, it's a beautiful one. A spell he wishes for his entire family and for every person on earth, because it leads to genuine happiness. And this is where the story takes its shocking and honestly visceral conclusion. The text says that hearing his #1 follower praise the Buddha so beautifully and just being unable to handle the loss and the intellectual defeat, Naraputta was completely overcome. Right there in Upāli's home, hot blood gushed from his mouth. A philosophical defeat had become devastatingly physical. So this ancient story leaves us with the exact same question it started with. And it's not just some abstract idea. It's a debate that we see in our own legal systems today. Think about the difference between murder and manslaughter. It all boils down to intent. So the question for all of us is, in our own lives, when we're weighing our actions, what really matters more? The thing we do, or the quiet, powerful intention in our mind that made us do it?